Hey guys, Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today I actually had a whole different video planned, but yesterday Harley-Davidson actually had announced the LiveWire and the pricing, and it's going to be available later 2019. And my lord, the internet went absolutely insane. The pricing was the biggest pain point that people had. And I'll get into that in a minute, but what I want to say is the new LiveWire is pretty awesome. And as far as the bike is concerned, tech-wise, it looks pretty packed full with some Panasonic implementation of telematics, a lot of things communicating back and forth to your phone. I believe the bike has cellular capability, so you know, maybe if somebody's tinkering with your bike, you'll get a notification on your phone, and to constantly be able to check charge status, sack me full of data. That's what I want, and I'm hoping that's what Harley does with that bike and with the telematics from Panasonic. So another thing I wanted to point out is a lot of people are like, oh, the range of 110 miles, you know, you can't tour on that bike. It's not meant for that. I mean, I don't understand who in their right mind thinks that you're putting an electric bike out there that you're going to be able to rip a 300-mile journey on. It's just, I don't think it's, I don't want to say it's never going to happen, but certainly not in the first rollout of the Harley-Davidson platform are you going to get that kind of range out of an electric motorcycle. I mean, motorcycles in general, once you get up over 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour, there's just like no aerodynamic potential out of them. There's unless you're going to start throwing a ton of fairings and get into a real sporty type posture, you know, it's just not what Harley-Davidson people are going to buy. So the bike is not meant for touring, and I don't understand why people are thinking that they should be getting like some crazy range out of these things. 110 miles is for a guy like me, it really not much more, who for the most part 95% of my riding is 25 miles on my way to work and 25 miles on my way home from work. There's your 50 miles round trip. You get home, you plug it in, by morning time the thing's full and ready to rip and roar again. That's really what that bike is intended for. Or somebody who is even just going to do less than that and just kind of bob around in their local city. Getting into price, you know, holy crap, people just right away were like, man, this bike is so stupid for Harley to charge so much. $29,700. And yeah, that's a ton of money for a motorcycle. I'm not going to discount that and say, you know, is it more than I thought it should have been? Yeah, probably. But in the grand scheme of things, it's a Harley-Davidson, and they've been R&D'ing this bike for years. When you look back on the history of electric vehicles, you know, Tesla came out with the Roadster back in 2006, and this is the original Roadster, not the one that they're coming out with in the near future, I think 2020, but this was the original Roadster, and when that thing came out, it was $100,000, and at the time, Toyota was selling a fully electric RAV4 for $40,000, so it was a $60,000 premium. So it's not a matter of getting to market and being the cheapest one there, it's really getting to market and being the best one there. I mean, everybody would pretty much say, I think it's not really all that debatable, that Tesla is the brand that set the bar, even after others were doing it first. So with that being said, sure, Zero sells the SR, which is a fully loaded, well, in a fully loaded configuration, for $19,900. So that is, call it $9,800 cheaper than Harley. But again, Tesla, when they came in at $100,000 compared to the RAV4 at $40,000, not the first time this has happened. So to discuss price differential, to me, isn't the most important part. The really most important part is, what is this bike when it comes to market? So I am not incredibly butthurt by the price of $30,000 whatsoever. Expecting that bike to come in at like $20,000 is just, it's unrealistic to think Harley's going to enter a market and be that competitively priced with you know, a company like Zero. Harley has a lot more at stake with releasing this bike. I mean, their entire reputation is on this. So I think that it's smart to put these bikes out there at that $30,000 price point. The people that are going to buy it are going to be Harley fanboys for the most part that can afford that type of toy. It's not going to sell masses at that price point, but I think it will create a market for Harley to start rolling out cheaper versions of that bike. That goes into their other bikes that they actually have. You can check them right out on their website. This is the more interesting story to me. Harley has these smaller electric bikes that to me look absolutely awesome and something that they should be doing. They have this city bike that I can see buzzing all over Manhattan if it's priced right. If it's going to be a $30,000 city bike, those won't move. But if they can put those things out for less than 15 grand, I'd say, and that's probably a little bit steep as well, but even like in the 10 grand range. I mean, regular electric bicycles right now push up to the $10,000 mark. You look at Trek bikes that are electric with those Bosch motors or Bosch batteries, those things push 10 grand. So if Harley has this city bike that is more of a motorcycle type bike and can do it for under 15 grand, I do see a big market segment there. You look right now at all these scooters and all these electric modes of transportation that these other companies are pushing. If they can even get into that platform, what's limiting with that is, and this is a huge hurdle, Harley says they want these bikes to be a non-motorcycle license type of bike. And they better be spending a ton of money lobbying state governments, because right now in Arizona, you need to have a motorcycle license if anything goes over 20 miles an hour. And well, you'd say, well, then make that thing just do 19 miles an hour. Great, but now you can't drive it on streets that are 35 mile an hour speed limits. So you really can't, in my opinion, push a city bike to the markets that only does 20 miles an hour, because I don't know where you live, but unless you only want to ride around in your cul-de-sac, not a lot of places you can really ride that without a motorcycle license. So they're going to have to really lobby hard to get those rules changed. And I do think that there should be like 2 levels of motorcycle licenses, like maybe an M1 and an M2 class, and maybe M1 is full motorcycle license, and maybe M2 is delegated to bikes that are under 35 miles an hour or 40 mile an hour bikes, where they're not going to be up on the highway and things like that. The idea of somebody going to get their motorcycle endorsement for a bike that does 35 miles an hour or 20 miles an hour, they're not going to want to spend 2 or 3 days of their life invested in getting a motorcycle license. And I'm not talking about you, the guy out there right now who's riding around on a full-blown bike that already has their endorsement and is going to thumb your nose at all those city snobs that you know, don't want to go through the motorcycle training. That's the market. I'm telling you, that's the market. So if Harley's going to push that market towards your couriers and stuff like that with a city bike, they're going to have to find a way through some clever loophole to get these bikes to not be motorcycle class bikes. Another big component of that is having pedals on a bike. Arizona requires, and I know a lot of other states require, that the motor can only be an assist. It cannot be a full-blown electric motor. As soon as you do that, it's now a motorcycle. You need to have your endorsement. That bike currently has no pedals on it. It looks like they have a crank there, 4 pedals, and maybe for the marketing photos or the concept photos, they just don't have the pedals on there. But you are absolutely going to have pedals on that bike, mainly because well, again, the motorcycle license requirement. I presume a bike that small is not going to be doing over 20 miles an hour. Your average bike tire type of setup like that, going over 20 miles an hour would be a pretty dodgy proposition. So that bike, in my opinion, probably cuts the muster for not requiring a motorcycle endorsement, but they're gonna have to throw some pedals on that thing, and I have a funny feeling that Harley-Davidson does not want to do that because it doesn't fit the image of Harley-Davidson to have pedals on your bike. I like the fact that their goal is to not have motorcycle endorsements for these smaller electric bikes, but I really don't see any way around it. That's my take on this whole LiveWire. I really wanted to put a video out for this because, well, my channel being Gears and Gadgets, this bike is everything my channel really embodies. So you know, it was important for me to put a video out for this, so I definitely wanted to do that. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If this is your first time, please click that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel, and I will see you guys next time.